called it, to identify best practices for teaching high school.
Yeah, I muted it. Hey, can any of you guys on the other end unmute and say something so we can test out our audio?
Yeah, I'll give you mine as well.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm waiting for the name tag.
Yeah, this is,
John Ashbushman.
John Stacy Poyer with Small Business Administration.
Okay.
I started an
So you're
entrepreneurial
with
middle
the feds.
school in
I was
Wisconsin.
feds.
I was like
Up
put
on
in
him.
prior to moving
So
here.
NSA recording all of this?
I got kind of shoestringed into doing this.
They're booked into
My
your
husband and I
cell
have a
phone?
business and I was looking to get back
Cell
into
phone?
the Larry,
Way to teach them.
yeah, Larry Garrettini called me and said, hey, would you be interested in being our program director? We're bringing this to St. Joe. And
Where's it out of?
it's
Starting
it's out in
with
Effingham, Illinois, yeah.
Actually, money.
It's involved with this audio.
Yes, that's
What's the parent person?
Midland Institute.
I dated my post.
This
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah, it's fantastic. So try to be here now.
Yes,
You have to choose it.
Well, we're doing this for 6 years, don't worry.
Oh,
Yeah.
did nothing.
There's one in.
Take a wave.
There's gonna be
Who do we
next
have
year, there'll
going
be
here?
30 approximately.
Can you guys say something so we can check our audio?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Oh, fantastic. Thanks. Keep talking for a second.
Okay, yeah, not a problem.
All right. We're in business. Thank you.
Good.
All right. We had to put some external speakers on. I want to make sure it was working. So
Got it.
thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I oversee
I don't think Alan heard you.
He's actually on the Board of Education for the state of Illinois.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're making some really good inroads there.
The remote for that,
Well,
so I can
they
see
found
what
me,
the
so
Sorry.
my husband and I moved here in December. He was recruited to be a CT director at Career Teaching in South Bend. And his superintendent and principal learned about what my background and what I had done. And they said, oh, we need to talk. And then Larry called me out of the blue one day and said, you know, I've heard a lot about you. I'd really love it if you could learn more about this. We want to get this going in St. Joe County. So
That's awesome.
kind of organic, you
Yeah,
know.
let's definitely check.
Yeah.
The one thing that we see that it's a challenge. I understand the value of helping you write business plans, but there's needs to be a greater emphasis on actually conducting in the skill set of entrepreneurship, right?
Just how to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like fail. Don't
It's
screw up what you
it's
think.
not the business 101 stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the human
And
stuff.
so when we find that, it's like
This is
that's what this is.
that.
That's what Monty was saying too. I guess what was it? 3 businesses came out of Kokomo last year.
Mhm.
You know,
Actually, one kid from Kokomo won the network-wide CEO trade show and won a scholarship just 2 nights ago. So,
very cool.
very cool. Business.
These guys are texting me. I want to make sure I'm not trying to be
No,
great.
that's fine. We'll talk sometime else. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Let's
Let's,
connect and-
so we're looking July 1 is when we're gonna start putting a roadmap together on how we're gonna deploy out or at least see what is out there.
Okay.
And see how we can help bring resources underneath this.
Okay.
We're not gonna create it. We're looking at what's trying to be done.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's not needed.
No.
They'll find ways to make sure that there's broader attention to these kinds of things.
Okay.
We have folks like we have an engineer that relocated to a small community in southern Indiana, started teaching in high schoolers for the farming state after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And from that, just mentorship for Tuesday and Thursday engagements, they ended up rolling out businesses, received grants from MIT.
Yeah.
I actually met President Obama to show them a FEMA relief apparatus that's now they're actually buying from these students, right?
Yeah,
So it's
right.
like, all it is this engineer, and I happen to stick around on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
But yeah, we should definitely connect.
Yeah.
I mean, the other pipe dream, my husband's engineering and, CT director, but connecting the two with innovation, manufacturing,
have a meeting.
entrepreneurship, like having a hub for that,
Awesome.
industry,
Yes.
where it can all come together. So the high school kid, an entrepreneur could say, how can you make this?
That's right.
I need a prototype. The kid can run a CNC machine and
Love it.
create the whole thing.
I love it. It's Iris.
Iris, yes.
Iris. Very nice to meet
Yeah, it's
you.
great to meet you. So I'll email you, and then when you have some time,
That sounds great.
let's meet, and I'd love
Absolutely.
to at least
All right.
give all the knowledge I know or have
Oh,
right now.
I want to make sure that we're helping you.
Yeah.
Can.
I have manuscripts that are done, and that was so helpful.
So here's one thing about Alan, is he is actually this year's state star for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, which means of our 60 or so folks across the network, he's the employee of the year, if you will. You're in good hands
No,
here.
Yeah.
Well, this might work,
Yeah,
but it's
well,
off center.
I already told him it's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure. I put a lot of
Try.
expectation. I'm like, all right, this is what I need, Alan.
I like to make it a little stressful every time I
Right.
get a chance.
That's something else. Let's go back
Well, yeah,
here.
no, it's great to meet you.
It was
And
nice to
yeah,
meet you.
Thank you for coming to this too.
Yeah.
Great. We should talk about it.
Yeah, that looks right.
Absolutely.
I needed to see something like
I wanna
circular or
make sure
something.
they don't
that
need
you-
anything as they
So
unload
that's an
me.
initiative for us too.
Yeah,
We'll just.
yeah. That doesn't look terrible. I had my meeting alerts come up on the screen. I thought we probably don't want that.
Depends what meetings they are.
The kickoff to Road to Repeatability is what the company's calling it. ERP software for the motorsports dealership vertical. So if somebody sells boats or four-wheelers or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I was curious if you're gonna, now that you have the whole full-time day job again, I was kind of curious if you're gonna be here for this.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I blocked it out on my calendar.
I guess after we get this thing going and Steve presents, we can always flip this camera the other way, so.
Oh, yeah, I think we're gonna move it to the top of the TV.
Oh, yeah,
After we
that's
go on
right.
kickoffs.
That's a good idea.
So is this idea that each location presents, one person presents from it or something?
Yeah, so we're gonna have a keynote from each, your keynote. No, excuse me,
Not me.
Charlie. I was thinking Steve. Steve, yeah, each person's gonna have a presenter. So we'll have 5 presenters in total. Around 20 minutes, let's talk about, their life story about entrepreneurship.
Hey, Noel, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so we're gonna just, when we're up, once we introduce Zach and he starts his presentation, this is what you guys will see. You're just gonna see his PowerPoint and hear him talk.
Okay, okay.
Okay? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
And then we'll stop it for the Q&A, and then everybody will see you for the Q&A. Okay? Awesome. This is gonna be great. Okay, so I'll mute.
Yeah, that's right. We could very well be blaring to 4 Coworks across the state right now. I'm gonna go ahead and fix my tie here.
We might want to check and make sure. Can we get a confirmation they can hear you all right?
Yeah, we're gonna check that out. Hey, folks from our team here, will someone get in front of the camera and give us a thumbs up that you can hear this? I'm getting thumbs up in one spot.
Actually, and a verbal might be nice too, so we can check our audio.
Yeah, got one from Noel. Got thumbs up there. Where was that? That was too quick. Is that Terre Haute?
Terre Haute.
Take something, Jane.
That was Terre Haute. What about Eric? Can I get a thumbs up, Eric?
So we haven't left yet.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Spinning the camera.
Don't spin the camera. There we go. All right, we're gonna jump in. We're gonna get started. Oh no, everyone's muted.
Sorry.
Take care of all the.
Can you guys say something on the
We got everyone muted.
Hangout?
So we're gonna have to, in order to do that, we'll get them unmuted when we're ready to go.
Good, we're
Does that sound
set
good?
there.
All right.
All right.
So bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna talk to the folks here in South Bend. 1 second. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. That's all right.
Oh, yeah. Grab a seat.
Hi, everybody.
And you can rearrange the chairs as needed for your comfort, whatever. Yeah.
So this is going to be fun. I should first introduce myself. I kind of did the round here in South Bend, but for all of you in the other 4 Coworks, I'm Jacob Schbach. I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director for the Indiana Office of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, which means that I get to play with entrepreneurs all day, which is pretty cool. I got one of the coolest jobs in state government for sure. So we're trying something new. This is, for those of you familiar with Lean Startup Principles, this is kind of our MVP, right? We're seeing, can we hook up Coworks across Indiana and have dialogues and bring people to the table that, maybe you haven't met before. This really kind of hatched from the concept that, you have your networks and you have the folks that you're getting connected with, and once you have a Cowork up and running for a while, familiar faces come, and that's great. But there's always opportunities to get some new personalities injected in there. So here's an opportunity to get some new personalities. I don't know the next chance that our guest speaker here that's going to be coming in from Terre Haute is going to be up in South Bend, for example, right? So this is a great opportunity. For the same sake here, our guest speaker here in South Bend is going to be down in Bloomington. So it's a great chance to make those connections. We're having this as a young entrepreneurs branded program, right? Igniting conversations under this young entrepreneurs auspice. Really, the intention behind that is making Coworks be a place that young entrepreneurs want to check out and want to be a part of, and realize that they don't have to hit some prerequisites in order to get involved in their community. So that's enough from me. We have a couple introductions, a couple of folks here. And they've gone on record saying that they're some of the biggest cheerleaders for entrepreneurship that the state has to offer. So without further ado, I'm going to do a very brief introductions here. The first person I'd like to introduce all of you to is our Lieutenant Governor, our 50th Lieutenant Governor for the state of Indiana. She has a strong entrepreneurship background and really understands not only the aspects of running your own business, but taking an idea, a concept, technology, if you will, and then commercializing it and finding real-world applications to move ideas forward. So that being said, Lieutenant Governor, if you wouldn't mind sharing a few words with the group.
All right. All right. Okay, this will be strange for me, too.
I know, right?
So the first time that I was a part of one of these was just yesterday down in Carmel when Scott Jones, father of voicemail, rolled out our announcement on 1150 Coding Academy and their 1150 consulting. So we had him on there from Hawaii. So if he can do it from Hawaii, I think we should be able to do it from South Bend, Terre Haute, Bloomington, did I hear? And Fishers. Okay, so we're close.
Yep.
And Indianapolis, so of course. So we're very, very happy to have the folks here in South Bend, but of course everyone from across the state to be involved. As Jacob said, I do try to profess to be one of your biggest cheerleaders of entrepreneurs, partly because I was one of you for 20 years, had my own consulting firm for those years, learned what it meant the good news for me, I would consider myself a young entrepreneur. I was 26 when I started my company, and sometimes ignorance is bliss. I didn't know what I didn't know, therefore I could go to any CEO or anywhere I needed to go and ask questions and figured they would help me. And I always figured they wanted to buy what I had, right? So that's okay. And I think that's one of the ideas behind this. And the other reason I'm so enthused about the Young Entrepreneur Program is it happened to be the first bill I ever introduced in the General Assembly. It was called the Young Entrepreneur Program, and the thought being, not exactly to what we're doing here today, but the thought being that we have lots of young people going into our universities, getting entrepreneurship degrees like Jacob, or certificates or concentrations in entrepreneurship. They do a business plan, but guess about how many actually implement those business plans? Nearly zero. So the thought was, how do we as a state encourage more of those young entrepreneurs to actually take their ideas forward? And today has a little bit of that flavor in that we're trying to interest communities in those ideas, because we know, and you know, that as much of the success of that young entrepreneur is going to be if the community comes around them, like these co-working spaces, and helps give them some lift. And it's not all about the money, though money's important. It's not all about the money. And so that was the first bill that I passed. Jacob's worked with me a couple of years trying to get that launched, and we just continue to evolve it, and it'll go to a better place, because my ideas are never that perfect, but I figure other people will help me out. So we've got some good things happening here in the state. We're very proud of having stood up an Office of Small Business and Entrepreneurship, which Jacob Schbach leads, and we have Alan Steele here, who is the Indiana Small Business Development Center. And we have also with us, I know he'll get introduced here shortly, is our SBA director as well for the several state region. Very happy to have you as well, Stacy. So we have some great resources here, and our goal as a state is to make sure we're doing the things that help link you up and give you that extra wind beneath your wings. The heavy lift still has to come from the entrepreneur, right? But we can do things that make it easier, and we want to make the ISBDC available to you. We also have other programs like PTAC and Launch Indiana, and I hope all these get fully vetted and introduced to people. But our goal is to continue to make Indiana a great place for small businesses to be. We rank number 10 in the nation right now. Well, we displaced Texas. I thought that was pretty good for us. Yeah, you can always cheer on that one, right? But we want to keep going, and we want to make Indiana an ever better place for small businesses. So I am going to be your cheerleader. Let me know what we can do to help you in all parts of the state. I come from the southern part of the state. I don't think we have Evansville on here today, but they have spaces. And at last count, I think we're up to nearly 50, I think 48 incubators and co-working spaces across the state. We're thrilled about that, want to see those continue to thrive, and thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you. So I've got to make a quick mention. We could be up to 50 right now, because I heard that we missed one, and Martinsville is actually throwing a big party tonight for the launch of their Cowork.
And then you know Huntingburg wasn't on there either. That would be 50.
That would be. So we're there. We're at the 50 Cowork mark. So the next presenter that we're going to have here, come say a few words. I'm going to ask Stacy Pointer. He oversees the Small Business Administration for the state of Indiana. He's the Indiana District Director. Stacy has been with the SBA for a number of years, supporting the functions of growing entrepreneurs and small businesses. In particular, SBA is a key component of making sure that businesses obtain the funding that they need by collateralizing a lot of loans. In other words, if you go to the bank and you don't have the credit, or excuse me, the collateral in order to obtain your loan, SBA will step in and co-sign, allowing for businesses to really grow and vouch for those businesses. They're also the ones that created the Indiana Small Business Development Center program. The SBDC is a function out of the SBA office, as well as SCORE, for those of you who know the SCORE office as well. So with that being said, I hope I'm not stealing the show here from Stacey, but I'm going to ask Stacey to say a few words.
Hi to all you on the call today. I'd like to thank the Lieutenant Governor for her inspiration, her cheerleading. She's been a great partner from the federal side, working with the state, and we've really tried to branch out this year and make sure we have a cohesive conduit, if you will, to small businesses here in Indiana. And we've really focused on try to focus on the young entrepreneurs. We also have what we call the encore entrepreneurs, those after 50 and above. So we use the word encore and starting their second career. So, but myself, I'm a lifelong Hoosier from Columbus, Indiana. I was part of a young professional group when I was down in that area, so I very value the young professionals. Jacob mentioned a little bit about what we do. We have what we call the 3 C's at the SBA. Access to capital, our loan program. I was just looking at some recent statistics. Our fiscal year this year, which started October 1 of 2014, we've already done 975 SBA guarantee loans in Indiana alone. Yes, thank you. Almost $400 million in supported dollars from the SBA programs. And so we couldn't do that without our partners, our banks, our credit unions. We have our certified development companies. We went to lunch today here in South Bend. We had a 504 certified development company loan. They just been in business 2 weeks, opened 2 weeks ago. So that was fantastic. Well, the second C is access to capital, or excuse me, access to counseling, which we have with the Small Business Development Center, our SCORE chapters, and our Women's Business Centers. And our third C is access to government contracting. If you're a small business and you want to do business with the federal government, which is the largest purchaser of goods and services across the country, then you can be certified through this SBA. So we'd be happy to come out to, and we do come out to Terre Haute, we do come out to Bloomington, Evansville, Fishers. Obviously, we're located in Indianapolis. We cover Indiana from border to border. Currently, we have 9 employees in the state, so we really appreciate our SBDC network because we can't always be in South Bend or we can't always be in Terre Haute. If you ask, we'll come, but we're not there every day. So anything that we can do here in South Bend or remotely, we'd be happy to do that. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have, as you all know, we have guest presenters at each of the Cowork locations. We're going to start, since we got the mic hooked up and we already got the stream coming on here from South Bend, we're going to start here in South Bend. So in order to introduce our guest speakers and talk a little bit more about the Cowork, just about the culture at large that's going on at each of these different geographies, we're going to ask the founder or the director on hand for the Cowork to speak a little bit and actually introduce the guest speaker that they're going to have for their market. So we're really excited about that. For those of you that are streaming this on YouTube and you're not at one of the Coworks, feel free, if you have questions for the guest speakers, for anyone, feel free to plug those in to the chat. We're going to receive all those, and we'll make sure that those questions get asked as well. But I can't stress the fact that we really want this to be organic. We want this to be, really an opportunity for us to have dialogues. It's not just one-way communication here. Hence the live broadcast, right? So with that being said, I'm going to ask Dan Newman in his Deb, you going to come up too?
Oh.
No? Okay. So I'm going to ask Dan. Deb's his wife. They open this together. I'm going to ask Dan to say a few words here about the branch in South Bend.
Sure. Thanks, Jacob.
Appreciate
it. That's all right. That's good. It's good. I don't need it. Yeah, so I was a computer science major, went to work for a number of big companies, as people tend to do. And at one point, I got the feeling it's time to hang out a shingle and do some independent consulting, and actually consulted with Alan Steele about some of those ideas. And he and the guy I was plotting my escape with together, we had several conversations, and ended up going independent as a consultant. And at one point, went half-time with my clients and realized working from home was just a horrible experience for me. Lots of distractions, whether in my head or because of things going on in the house, and no other cool people to hang out with. So that was a big problem. We decided we would start a co-working space in South Bend. We bootstrapped it. We didn't go the route of forming a nonprofit and finding companies that wanted to invest. So we said, hey, where's an inexpensive piece of property in the South Bend Central Business District? Because in addition to other people, I like coffee and I like beer, and so downtown South Bend had all those things. And so we started in a building that we were very happy to leave after about 18 months, because it was that kind of experience. But fortunately, the people that had seen a benefit of getting together and working in one space and sharing ideas and going out to lunch together almost all of them came with us to a new, better space, a larger space, and we've continued to bootstrap this and attract everything from a seamstress to speech therapists to the next company has been with us for almost since we opened. And our guest speaker, Steve Smith, is from GitHub, so I'm going to ask him to come up. He's, I think, summarize his bio to, I design cool things. Started a company called Ordered List back in the day, sold that off, sold some other companies, works for GitHub. I know he has some other ideas that he's working on with some colleagues, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Here's Steve Smith going to talk.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Steve. So Dan asked me to talk a couple days ago, and so I guess the only thing that I'm actually honestly qualified to talk about is how building a software business is actually awesome. It's the best thing you can do these days. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. My experience with entrepreneurship is really sort of an out of the loop, like I had never intended to be an entrepreneur. When I was in college, I graduated with a degree in computational physics because I didn't know what I wanted to do. It turns out the only thing you can do with a degree in computational physics is go to graduate school. And I was about done with school by the time I graduated, so I had to fall back on something. And all through high school and college, I had sort of tinkered with software just as more of a fun hobby, and was like, well, that's fun. Maybe I'll do that for a living. So sort of fell into software accidentally. But over the period of time, I think at the end of the day, both software and even entrepreneurship is all about, I had a huge desire, I loved solving problems, and I loved figuring out how things worked and getting them done. And I think all of us probably have that in common. Out of college, again, because I had no plans to be an entrepreneur, I worked at a couple of different places, small agencies, bigger agencies. I worked at the University of Notre Dame for a while, and talking with friends who work at large companies, and they complain to me about how things move slowly, and I always tell them to try working in education. So after all those experiences, I finally sort of got the itch to say, like, well, it's too slow for me to do things the way I want to do. Like, the field of software is moving faster than this company is. And so I was like, well, I might as well try. I'm going to try it myself. So I went out on my own and started a software company. Consultancy originally, and started just on my own, built it up with a couple people, and eventually there were 5 of us. We joined a company in San Francisco that bought us called GitHub, which is where I work now. I'd love to talk to any of you about that later, which is, but I want to get into the idea that why software? First off, how many people, I can kind of see some people in there, but like, how many people know how to like write software? Okay, disparagingly low. First off, writing software is not difficult. It really isn't. So writing software is a lot like math, where people get really scared of it, but it's not actually very hard. Writing software to me is a lot like Legos. The first time you play with Legos, you follow the instructions, but pretty soon you understand and get to know the pieces, and then you get to make whatever you want. And that's exactly what building software is, right? As long as you understand the building blocks of software, you can literally make anything. And this is why building software is so cool. First off, at GitHub we have a couple sayings. One is that software is eating the world. We have an opinion that in the future there will be no company that is not a software company. And I don't mean like that's all they do. But consider automobile manufacturers. Well, they're software companies now. All their cars are software. Their integration systems with their music, that's all software. Your Maytag, a refrigerator company, is making software for their screens. You have a manufacturing company. They need software for inventory, for everything else. Every single company is going to be making software. I've made such a bold statement in the past to say that in my parents' generation, the differentiating factor for employment was whether you had a college degree or not. I think in the future, the differentiating factor will be whether you know how to build software or you don't. That's how big it's going to be. So knowing how to build software is going to be this giant difference in companies. The other benefit of starting a software company these days, and this is not this was not true, say, 6 years ago, but today starting a software company has never been cheaper. It is so cheap to start a software company. You can literally, if you have a laptop computer, that's all it takes. You can build a software company for $0 past that. Zero money. You can utilize open source software. You can host it for free. You can get help by online tutorials for free. Everything you need to do to build that company is free to start. And as you grow, as you scale, then you start to pay money. Which I understand that there will always be needs to raise capital in business, but I would much rather go to a place raising capital and say, I already have a profitable business, it's making money, I just need to hire 5 more people sooner than I would like to do it on my own. So having a business plan that is already profitable is huge. A couple other things. Running a software company lets you start a company in your bedroom that is for sale to the world. It's awesome. You can live wherever you want. You can go on vacation wherever you want. You can go wherever. It's awesome. Highly recommended. So how do you actually do this? If you don't know how to build software, how do you actually do it? Because it might sound really, really difficult. The first thing, and this is what I tell everyone, if you have an idea, just start making it. The idea is the hard part. Just start building it. You will have no idea what you're doing. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's like the first time you do anything. It's going to be terrible. That's okay. Your first time you do something is never going to be perfect. But you keep at it. You keep building it. You keep iterating. Sketch stuff on paper. Talk to people about, like, does this seem like a good way to interact with things? Read tutorials online. Go to meetups, like some of the software meetups here. There's local variables, which meets IOSB. There's, in the entire region, there's software meetups all over the place that are more than willing to talk to you about how to get things done. Learn it yourself. I cannot stress this enough. Just hiring people and not knowing anything about it, I don't think it's good enough anymore. You've got to know about how to do it, because it's not very difficult. It's just linear thinking and it's problem solving. Knowing software is super important. If you don't have an idea, or you're hesitant, you already have an idea started, you want to try something else, just copy something. Don't publish it. But like, look at something that you like and just try and make it. Just try and build it yourself and see if it works. It's really that easy. Just mimicking things is the best way to learn them. It's just like watching workout videos or anything else. Each new project will get better as you go along. It's really not that tough. But it's building skill on skill on skill on skill. So it's layers of technology that you'll have to learn. Other than that, I highly recommend I'll talk to anyone about what you need to start a software business. But other than that, anyone have questions?
You might want to tell them, go ahead and take it off your microphone. Or go ahead and take your microphones off mic or off mute if you have questions.
Oh, we have a question here at Launch Fishers.
Wonderful.
So in terms of when you say software, I'm taking that as you're generally talking about coding and learning to code. What online resources would you say are most valuable in getting started and learning how to code?
So there's a couple different ways to find online resources, and there are infinity resources out there. Some are better than others, but online resources like Lydia.com or some others are simple, easy ways to get started. Picking an existing technology that you may have heard of, if you go to any of these meetups or if you hear of something that works, oftentimes those particular frameworks of software will have online tutorials on how to get started with them. And again, at first it will be super confusing, it will be Greek, and it will be really weird, but you'll go through it once, and then you'll go through it a second time, and then maybe a third time, and it will start to make sense. It's very much like a foreign language. You'll understand reading it long before you know how to write it, but that's just fine, like I said about Legos. You start by following instructions. You don't start building things on your own until much later. So putting together a list of online resources is nearly impossible, but I would love to maybe try over the next couple days if you let me. I can post some stuff out if there's a mailing group or whatever else goes out.
You want to give them your Twitter handle?
I'm ordered list on Twitter at ORDEREDLIST. Camera. You won't see it. Anyhow, yeah. It's all, I think it's on the website.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tweet me, and we'll figure it out.
I actually have, I made itinerary out for someone they actually followed, and they have a software job now. I can share that.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
What is the language, if you're going to jump in and start dabbling, what is the language to begin with?
My recommendation to start is JavaScript. It's pervasive. It's on the client side. It's on the server side. There are databases written in JavaScript. It is 100% pervasive. Is it the best language in the world? Probably not. You'll get arguments everywhere about what is the best and what isn't. JavaScript is great to start with. Ruby, Python, learn HTML and CSS. Anything. Like, honestly, learning a programming language is very much like learning a foreign language. Your first one is the hardest, but your second and third are not nearly as difficult. If you can separate in your mind the idea of like syntax and what things mean, and a linear thought process of how to understand a language, they're all the same thing, just a little bit different. So that's all I'd say to that.
What have you found for validating your ideas? So I know you've got some things you've worked on. How did you get them from ideas in your head to things somebody was actually willing to pay for?
My best way of validating ideas is getting it in front of users and customers. In any software business, I just recommend putting stuff out there and charging money for it. And if people pay for it, it's good. Beyond that, like I said, local meetups, talk to people. Again, like I said, you can buy a laptop for $800 and start a software company. And then you don't have to go begging your friends and family for money. And then eventually, if you get really good at it, your friends and family will start begging you for money. So.
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions out?
Anyone else?
All right. And Noel's checking the chat room.
Oh, yeah.
We're not missing any of those either.
Cool.
So those come in. Thank you,
All right.
Steve.
No problem.
No problem. Well, that's it for us here. I'm going to pass it over to Terre Haute, where I know Jane Rich is running point for the ISPDC. And we're going to move our camera around so you can see who's all here. Jane, you with us?
We're here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jane Rich. I'm going to be here for just a second. I am introducing to you Courtney Ritchie, who is the Regional Director of the Terre Haute ISPDC, and she's going to intro the individuals here at Launch Terre Haute. So Courtney, go ahead.
Well, one, I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited that we have so many people in our co-working space that maybe haven't been here before. I know I'm among friends when I say that I think co-working spaces are invaluable in communities, especially in communities like ours where we have 5 institutes of higher education. And Shelley Klingerman, who's with us today, actually really was one of the people that drove the force to get the co-working space here. It's a lot of work, and we've started, and we're here, and hopefully we are growing with her leadership. Shelley is seriously a serial entrepreneur at the definition. She not only has worked at a local company here for 15 years, she then started and sold a women's boutique, has owned a yoga studio, was the former executive director for our downtown Terre Haute. And if you talk to any of our downtown business owners, they will tell you that we've come such a long way under her leadership. And she's now leading the force as the executive director for Launch Terre Haute and helping us grow our entrepreneurial ecosystem here locally. We are blessed to have her in the Terre Haute community, and especially as a partner with the Small Business Development Center. She's going to facilitate tonight with our owner, Fifi, so I will let her come up and introduce. And again, thank you for joining us today in this celebration.
Thank you, Courtney. Hello, Indiana. Hello, fellow co-work spaces. It's my pleasure to introduce Claudine Han. I had the privilege of working with Claudine for many years at Sony DADC, where we both worked together, and then I moved on, and she still stayed. But she is, again, another true example of an entrepreneur who is kind of phasing in. Her and her partner have a great story to tell, and they have a really unique business called Fifi's Lunchbox, and I brought some samples. And just to give you an idea of what they do all things vegan who can really deny that that is fabulous? If you can see here, I don't know if you can, Jane, I don't know if you can get the camera angle, but we have chocolate covered bacon with bacon sprinkles, a chocolate chip bacon cookie with a little bacon embellishment, and a savory cupcake with bacon beer. Oh, even better. I didn't even know that. Beer and cheddar cupcake with cream cheese icing with bacon. So, I mean, really, who can deny that this isn't going to be a huge success?
Yeah, we're going to stop now and
Yeah, and we're going to sample and we'll send some your way. So, Claudine, welcome. Thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. So, talk about what you and your business partner, kind of where this idea came from and just what got you interested, because it's a really kind of niche restaurant that you started.
Well, we got into this because we both love food. Basically, our corporate jobs locally were starting to become unsecure. Layoffs were happening, and we had to think of a way that our future, what we like to do, and that was easy. We both knew we love food. We both knew we love unique. The good news about Terre Haute is, and bad news, it's a chain restaurant. Places everywhere, so it was missing some unique flair, in our opinion. There's some that are popping up now, but we knew we can get in. We thought we would just start out really slow and get in concession trailers, because I've always had the love of festivals.
So you started out with a food truck, and that's really where you started in. And then talk about the food truck and then how you scaled up, because that's kind of an important piece here.
We did. We never really had a goal of opening a restaurant until a couple years ago. We did start out with a concession trailer, then moved up to a food truck trailer. We wrapped it just like a food truck, full kitchen, and it forced us to be unique. In order to get in festivals, you have to sell something unique. So that was easy for us to do because we both love bigger cities and all the fun things that are going on there, and we wanted to bring something back to Terre Haute and festivals. You can't get 3 food trucks down, if you will. So that's how we got into that, and the demand from there grew. People want us to cater their anniversaries, their parties, special events, and then we opened up a commissary kitchen locally in North Terre Haute, and I thought it'd be a great idea. Since we're already there, why not do some baked goods and some coffee? So again, how do we draw ourselves apart from the cupcake stand down the road? So we started adding bacon. And the reason we jumped into that is because bacon prices jumped so high one time. We were at a festival, I couldn't increase my prices. So I started curing and smoking our own pork bellies and started making our own bacon, which is a great product because it's all natural, no preservatives. And so we decided to put our bacon into the baked goods, and it was born.
And it's been a success. But I think it's really interesting, too, how you took your food trailer and your brick and mortar space was pretty small. Were you not cooking in your trailer and then bringing it in, and you were just making do with what you had until you figured out the next step?
Yeah, that is one thing good about me and my business partner. We're not afraid. Which we'll open up the windows and we'll figure it out. If we know we have a good product, that's exactly what we did. We were running back and forth from the building to do the food truck because we couldn't fry inside our buildings and didn't have a commercial kitchen, and we were renting it, and it was very small. We only sit like 4 or 5 people. So we wanted to give that a try too. Between festival seasons, we opened up our concession trailer, put some picnic tables out, and it seemed to be going pretty well. So again, jumped on to the next stage from there. Since that was going well, that's when we started thinking about a restaurant. We were doing a lot of catering, and we felt that, again, at Terre Haute, we could really get into a niche here and do something really good. And we started looking around for real estate because that was our goal in 2015, was to own our own properties. We're currently renting, and we were dumping a lot of money into a building that wasn't ours.
So talk about the importance of being able to kind of scale up like you did, because I think that's key for a lot of entrepreneurs when you're scaling. Right. You don't necessarily have to go from 0 to 60. It's taking those steps and taking them as it makes sense. So how much did that play into your longevity and your success and not taking on more debt or more risks than you needed to do?
Sure. We were really conservative. We took baby steps. And we grew. And the way we did that is the money that we made, we reinvested and reinvested and reinvested. So we didn't have a lot of debt to jump into it, and this allowed us to take the next step. We got an SBA loan for our property and worked with the local community at Indiana State University and helped with the business plan, our triple net leasing, all the paperwork that SBA needs. And we did take the leap as far as that goes. Our actual food truck and concession trailer, one of our goal was to have it paid off, and we paid it off 3 years ago. So it's something that we do. Me and my business partner work really well by not jumping into something until we feel really comfortable with it. And again, maybe a little bit conservative, but I am in the business world, and sometimes conservative is the way to go. And but risks at the same time.
And I know you work with the local SBDC and put things together. Yes. So hats off to their work and their guidance.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what are 3 things you would tell an entrepreneur? You know, food trucks are huge, and maybe some never thought about taking that into a brick and mortar restaurant. What are 3 things that you would tell somebody, you know, general entrepreneurs or maybe someone who's kind of in the food niche?
Sure. Know your competition. You have to think of something different. Can't be selling the same thing that you could get somewhere else, and have some capital.
What have you enjoyed the most about this whole journey?
It's been some ups and downs. I don't know why. I've cried in the cooler recently, but what always keeps me going is everybody's feedback. And there are people that help that you never thought would help. And just making people happy with our food. And this is something mind-blowing, or they say this is the best food I've ever had, or I didn't think something like this would ever come to Terre Haute. You know, it totally reinforces everything that me and Jackie have been trying to do.
What kind of marketing has worked best for you?
Oh, marketing. Boy, did we fail at marketing at first. I am not going to lie. And I get in trouble for this because this was my idea. We thought it would be a great idea for our food truck, our concession trailer, the first one. Literally, we hand painted it. This is telling you how cheap we went on this one. And I thought it was a great idea to name all our food items after our pets and our friends' pets. So then I thought, well, let's take it a step further, because I just got a new laminator, and let's take pictures of all our friends' pets, and then put the description of the burger underneath it. Well, people got confused, thinking they were eating animals. Or we were selling dog treats. So marketing was very important. We learned it really quickly. We knew branding. So going into this, we have made some mistakes. We quickly tweaked it. It's one thing good about me and Jackie too. We realized, okay, that failed. We're not going to stick with something just because, oh, I love my dog on there. No, that did not work. And we moved on. And we started taking pictures of our food. We put more graphics on our concession trailer. We bought a new one and fixed all that up. Even though we did keep the names, there's still my dog Baxter and Lulu and Ruby and Zeus are all still on the menu, but not actual animal products. That's good to know.
That's good to know, everyone.
But yeah, branding's been huge this time. We totally revamped our logo, our colors, and again, working on branding throughout the whole place. So I had to think about the color schemes in our logo to carry it through our whole building. And again, it was a learning process. I definitely could use some marketing help in the very beginning, but we got it in the middle and in the end, and when it counts.
And when you set out on this journey, are you where you thought you were going to be when you set out? Because it sounds like you've pivoted a lot, and that's really important when you're starting a business. You have a perception that it's going to be one way, and it just, unfortunately or fortunately, doesn't work out that way. But Cowork has been able to recognize and pivot to keep going.
Sure. If you had told me 4 years ago to own a restaurant, I would have said you were crazy. So that is how much we have pivoted. And here we are restaurant owners. And again, the market, the demand, we did not know how well our product would go over, so it was a risk. Because when we started, Wendy's was not doing the pretzel bun, and we were making our own, so nobody knew what a pretzel or a burger on a pretzel bun was. So we had to get out there and we had to talk to people and convince them to try our product, and after that, it just grew. And we saw a niche. We took it.
And what is your end goal? What's the end game for you?
To drive by and say I own that. No,
debt free.
Debt free. No, actually, we have several steps we've already been talking about. First of all, we need to expand already. We need additional parking. We want to have our own venue for weddings and special events. And we've even talked about once the Riverwalk comes up or something like that to move our bacon rate, which is bacon plus bakery, maybe something like that, a little coffee shop out there. So we're always thinking about expanding. Jacqueline wants to franchise. That's something that she's thought about. Like I said, I'm always willing to discuss and talk, but right now I'm thinking about already expanding, parking, maybe a second smaller location that only does one or two or three things.
And expansion's a big deal because you literally just moved into your space, right? Like
Correct.
you are already talking expansion. You literally had doors open a month, if that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a great response.
Well, that's one of the reasons we bought that property too, because there is two lots that we were told potentially be that we could expand on, because we knew when we bought that property we would want to expand immediately. We always, like I said, reinvest, thinking about the next thing that we could be doing to keep our longevity going. And we love catering weddings and special events. And it's hard because a lot of caterers are locked into using whatever venue they pick. So we really had to hustle on that part too, and it's grown at least 6 times just from last year. So a cool venue would be a great expansion idea for us. But of course, it's going to be a while before we do that, but it's something we're thinking about.
And you're actually starting festivals. Are you still doing festivals, or have you been consumed now with the restaurant?
We've locked in 3. The 4th one is begging us to come back. So it just depends how much sleep I want to get. And sleep is definitely optional. I know. But yes, no, festival is so important. And what I mean by festival is local. We're going to do the Blues Fest. That's really important for us to stay in Terre Haute in music. And there's a couple other ones. We're locked into the Cover Bridge, which is one of the biggest ones here. I always enjoy that, except for day 10. This is really long. And there's another one too. We're going to do some 4th of July events possibly. But we definitely did streamline it down. We went from 12 to maybe 4 this year, just because I didn't want to lose focus on the restaurant and then have too many irons in the fire and not able to progress. So I want to make sure our first venture is starting out really good, but not losing the fact. I love opening a food truck. That's where my heart is. And that's my favorite thing, especially if there's good music and things like that. I really enjoy, that's where I could see us expanding later on down the road as well.
And how many jobs have you created?
I was just telling Dave over here that we went from 2 employees to 22, almost overnight. So.
Wow. That's fabulous. Yeah. Before we go on to our next speaker, do we want to open it up and see if any other locations have questions?
Do we have any questions at this time for PPs?
The food truckers?
Nothing, I don't bite.
Well, we'll leave that open if something does come up before we move on. So we've got another speaker. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up now Brian Jackson, who is a member of Tech Code as well as myself, and we're really living the saying, be the change you want to see. So we are, where are you going with those?
I don't want to kick it over.
So we're really living the saying, be the change you want to see, and we have a startup working out of launch ourselves, and we are kind of responsible for the tech movement. So, Brian, let's just kind of share what we've got going on with Tech Code, and some of the movement we're doing, and then we'll just touch upon Scholar.
So we talked about pivoting and changing course. You know, we started Tech Code initially as an opportunity just to educate local businesses on social media and what's kind of technology is evolving. And as we pivoted along for the last 2 years now, we've really taken this to the point where Tech Code, we define Tech Code as a startup community here in Terre Haute. And what we realized is we have all of the natural ingredients here in Terre Haute to really do something special. You know, 5 higher educational institutions. We've got a strong heritage of business here through businesses like the Woman Center. We've got up-and-coming tech companies that continue to grow, like Infraware, Nick Mahurin's group here in Terre Haute, and MC Labs with Brett's group. And then also, obviously, we've got some newer companies that started out of launch Terre Haute, businesses like Crossroads Events with Ethan Page, and then not to tout our own group, but School Intercom is beginning to see some team as well. So we're really excited about that.
And talk about kind of the little micro ecosystems that we have going on with our meetups and Cowork and.
Sure. So Tech Code at its core really consists of, like we said, those monthly meetups that we conduct here out of Launch Terre Haute, and then obviously Launch Terre Haute is that central meeting place, and we really use Tech Code as that hub, if you will, for all of those educational institutions, all of those different businesses, existing business members, but then also all of the entrepreneurs that we find in this community that are working out of their basements or in the coffee shops or whatever. We have an opportunity to bring all those people into one central location and really do something special.
And I think we've been surprised at, when you look at your own community, you're thinking, oh, that won't go here, or, we can't support that. But if we look at all of the social media communities that we have, even in a community like Terre Haute, there's 500 to 700 people that are plugging in, and we're starting to create that community where if you have an idea, we're providing that central place to plug in, and we can pivot people to resources that they need.
Absolutely, and not only is it resources here in Terre Haute, but extended resources in places like Evansville with Drew Perona, or Indianapolis, people like Tony Monteleone and John Wexler, and people like Matt Hunkler, and individuals that have helped us along as we've come along. We have statewide resources that have been extremely helpful, and people come around and people talk about both the rainforests, and I think that the state of Indiana is really living that whole concept, and it's been extremely helpful for us here in Terre Haute.
It's been a very friendly community. It's a very we're separated by miles, but things like this event help bring everyone together. So, and I think we have a really interesting story that we can talk about with Team Storm, and why don't you take a few minutes to just talk about that?
Sure.
That's a big deal.
So Team Storm is a group of young entrepreneurs, ages 10 to 14. They came up with this great idea through First Lego League, and the idea was a mobile app that helped children with dyslexia understand the numbers and how to do that. So they went to the Nationals in St. Louis, and they were selected as one of 3 teams. And then beyond St. Louis, then just this past weekend had an opportunity at the U.S. Patent and Trade Office and won the entire competition, $20,000. Great product. We've been able to mentor that group and put them in contact with certain legal resources to help them continue to develop that. But then additionally, there's a group of students at Rose-Hulman that will take that product and basically create that app and take it to the next step for these kids. So, when we started to mentor these kids, actually this was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we're introducing them to concepts like MVP products, right? And so now we've got these kids that are 10 years old, and they're talking about how they built this MVP product to sometimes adults that don't understand what they're talking about. And so they use those terms very loosely. They understand the concepts, and these are our future entrepreneurs, and we're helping to just grow that ecosystem here at Terre Haute.
So we want to give a shout out to Team Storm. Congratulations, and we'll be hosting a reception for them when they get back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So next we're going to be going over to Developer Town in Indianapolis. Heather and Kim, are you there? Developer Town?
Okay, we are here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
From Developer Town in Indianapolis. Thank you for hosting us, by the way. And I'm pleased to introduce you to Michael Kelly, Managing Partner of Developer Town.
Thanks. So Developer Town, we're an innovation studio here in Indianapolis. We work with design, develop, and launch new software products. That means we do a lot of work with startups, and we occasionally get the pleasure of working with larger companies who are trying to do something new and now. I'm super excited to introduce Zach, who's going to be talking about what he's working on. Zach is 17. He's a senior in high school up in Noblesville. Met him through Jacob Schrock a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, as he was kind of working through some of the things he's been doing with his startup. It's a startup called Passways. He has customers already, and he's growing that business. He's also, this is well-known Zach Baker trivia, he's also the co-host of a podcast on education and technology, and kind of the blend of those two, which has some fairly interesting perspectives. Actually, listened to a couple of them. So if you want to meet somebody with a ton of energy who's got a lot going on, Zach's the guy. So Zach, come on up, tell your story.
Hey everybody, so thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be up here. And today I want to share a little bit about where I started and what I've done, and then share a few of the lessons that I've learned through my failures and successes in starting a business at sort of a younger age. So a little bit of a brief history about me. When I was about 10 years old, I'd always been interested in computers and technology, but I was in the library with my mom, and we were sort of browsing the shelves, and I got pretty bored, and I pulled out a book about modding a computer game called Doom. And I didn't really know anything about this computer game or anything like that, but this book was full of information about computer programming and computer knowledge, and I felt like I was looking into this lens of this whole world that I had no idea about. So that day, I checked out a book from the library called Computer Programming for Dummies. And then since then, I've been on this roller coaster of entrepreneurship and startups and computer programming, and I'm just absolutely fell in love with it. So since that time, in the last couple of years, I've been really mostly focusing on app development. And so I want to highlight 3 of the apps that I made. I made a few, but these are some of the more ones that I'm more proud of. Rock, Paper, Scissors was sort of the first app that I ever made. I wouldn't recommend you download it because it's kind of embarrassing, but it was it's free, and it was the first app that I ever created the graphics for. I did all the programming and design for it myself, and it's up on the App Store just like all the other apps created by places like Twitter and Google and Facebook. And so it was really cool for me to share that with my friends, that I had an app on the App Store just like them. And my second really big app was an app called Truthly. And so Truthly is sort of a phenomenon because middle schoolers and high schoolers have this game that they play on Instagram where someone will post a picture that says truth is, and then everyone who likes that photo they'll send them a text message saying, truth is you're funny, or truth is we haven't talked in a while, we should hang out. And so I built this app that allows people to post pictures to Instagram and communicate with all their friends through this application. So with communicating between different devices and across servers, it was the most complicated thing I'd built at that time. I did it last summer, and we had over 2,000 monthly users at one of its peaks. So that was really, really exciting. And then the last one that I want to highlight here was an app called In School Law. So In School Law was an app that I built for a law firm named Church Hill Antrim, which is in my downtown Noblesville. And they commissioned me to build an app that brought together resources from the Indiana Constitution, select cases, and client-specific information for their law firm all into one app. And this process was interesting because it was the first time I really worked with a business and learned how to manage contracts and manage other people and work together to get a completed product. It was really, really difficult, but I learned a ton. And so through these 3 apps, it sort of built this foundation for me to do what I've been doing for the last year, which is running my startup called Passways. So Passways is, you can check it out at passways.com. It's a digital hall pass application. So what that means is my high school is one-to-one with iPads, so every student, every teacher, and every administrator has an iPad. Because of that, we submit all of our homework online, we do all of our assignments online, we create videos, we watch videos. Basically, almost, I would say 90% of our schooling happens on the iPad and online. And so we have digital solutions to all these problems in the classroom, right? So submitting assignments, communicating with teachers, social media integration. But the thing that we hadn't solved on the iPads was hall passes. So because of that, students are carrying around these paper hall passes. They're losing them, they're stealing them, and some students are forging the hall passes. And so what I did is I worked to create a system that digitizes the hall passes on the iPad. So for the second semester, my school ran this app at full scale. We had 3,000 students using it. We're going to use it next year. We created over 50,000 passes, and this summer already we have over 10 schools testing the app to use it in the future. So that's.
Zach, can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
They can't really hear you.
Okay.
So we're going to move you closer to the mic.
Is this better?
Let's see.
Can we maybe get him to step even a little bit closer to the?
Okay.
And hold on one second. So you want me to share now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on one second. Scroll out. Behind you too.
Yeah, sure.
They're just gonna hear this. Okay.
All right, you go to the next. Okay, yeah. So I'll just quickly overview. So Passwords it's a digital hall pass application. So because we're in high school, every student, every teacher, and every administrator has an iPad. It allows all of the hall passes that usually take students from class to class to be digital on the iPad. So up to this point, my school is spending almost $2,000 a year printing paper hall passes, which students could easily like forge, lose, and then teachers have to spend a lot of time writing them. And basically everybody hated the system. So what I did is I built an app that basically digitizes all of that. So all the hall passes were on students' iPads. And we ran it at full scale at my school. So all 3,000 students were using it, almost 200 teachers were using it, and it worked for the whole second semester of high school. And so they get that for free. So they're saving money, they're saving a ton of time, and it's pretty awesome. And so then this summer, I've been working with over 10 new schools to implement it in their schools, and I'm soon starting sort of like a marketing push to get it in as many schools as possible. We created over 50,000 hall passes with the app, and it's been a really, really exciting journey. So through that journey, I want to share sort of 3 of the things that I think are really critical to starting a business and being a successful entrepreneur. Those things are getting started, staying motivated, and getting help. And so starting with getting started, I think this is really important because so there's a big difference when you're starting a business between ideas and execution. You can go to the next slide. So ideas and execution. This picture behind me, this is the very first time we met to sort of figure out the ideas for what we wanted this app to look like. And we sat down in one of our study halls and we had whiteboards and we figured out what we wanted it all to look like and what we wanted to do, what we wanted to happen. And then it took about 1.5 years before my school started using it. So it's this huge amount of time between when you first have these ideas, the concept of the app, and the execution. And there's sort of a famous saying that ideas are easy and execution is everything. And I think that holds really, really true. I didn't realize that when I first got into it, but it's so much more difficult to make something happen than to have the ideas for it to happen. So just definitely don't underestimate how difficult the execution will be. The second part of it is just making sure you're solving a problem, and more specifically than that, a problem that you have. I think it's really important because this problem is not really a problem that I had, but a problem that 3,000 of my closest students had, and 200 of my teachers had, and 50 of my administrators had. So I was in this environment where everybody had this issue and was really willing to offer me advice and feedback on how to make this better. And so a piece of advice I heard, people were asking Steve earlier in the presentation, how do you validate your idea? How do you make sure that what you're doing is something that people want? I think one thing that I heard that was really helpful was have a list of 10 people when you first think of something who would use your product. Sit down and write down 10 names. I think if you can do that, that's a really good indication that what you're building is something that people really want. And so I would give that advice to anybody who has a new product or a new idea, sort of validate that by thinking of 10 people who you think would use your product. These are the pictures behind me of these tons of hall passes that are my greatest enemy, but are now gone for awesome. So the second part of it is staying motivated. In this picture you'll see, it's been 1.5 years since I started it. It's my before and after pictures. I've changed a lot and I've learned a lot. But it's difficult to stay motivated for these really, really long periods of time when you're building a business and all the highs and the lows. So how do you do it? I think the most important thing is being passionate about what you're doing. You can see on this graph behind me, if you go to the next slide, So this is something that I drew up. It's like a difficulty versus time graph, and so on the y-axis you'll see like the easy and hard, and then this is the time. And at some point it just gets really hard. Like whatever you're doing, everything starts breaking, and you think it's not going to work. And I think anybody who started a business or run a project has run into a problem like this. And at the bottom you'll see there's a little point where I wrote give up. I think that's where most people give up. You know, when it gets really difficult, and you think, you know, why am I doing this? Should I continue doing this? But if you're passionate about what you're doing, that's where you continue. I think that's where you eventually succeed. And then secondly, getting energy from others. I think, you know, like it's however long your project is. Mine's a year and a half, and I'm sure people have had even longer projects than me. Someone to get bored working by yourself, grinding, you know, into the night. And so getting energy from others is really important. Sharing your ideas, getting feedback, and talking to people about your startup or your business or your project. I think that's where I get the most excited about doing it, coming up here today, and then talking to you guys after about what I'm doing. You know, I feel more inspired than ever to continue working on it and make it as good as. And then lastly, getting help. I think getting help is the most underestimated part of running a business. It's something that I didn't realize enough at the start, and it's part of what took me so long, is reaching out to others and getting help. I think getting help, there's sort of three pillars to this: family, friends, and mentors. And I think they all sort of serve a different aspect in terms of whatever you want to build on top of these three pillars. So for me, it's my business. For you, it's your project, whatever business you have. But your family's going to offer you a lot of support, not necessarily like my parents can help me code my app, but you know, they're there to help me, you know, when, you know, whatever problems I'm facing, to help support me through that. My friends there to encourage me, to, you know, what you're doing is awesome. Let's see if I can break your app and get around it so I can leave school early, you know, but then I can fix those flaws. And then my mentors are there because my mentors, I didn't even realize how incredibly helpful they've been at the beginning of this process. But mentors are the difference between success and failure, I think. People who have been through what you're doing already and can help you succeed and learn from what you're doing, and somebody to talk to and offer you advice. It's incredibly useful, and I just definitely wouldn't underestimate getting help as you guys start to run businesses. And then the other part of that is this community, Indiana entrepreneurship community. I think when I first started programming, I had this weird idea that like all computer programmers lived in California, and I was gonna have to move out there to like ask them questions. But that is not true at all, because I've been blown away. I live in Noblesville, Indiana, and I'm pretty close to Launch Fishers, and the amount of smart people and interesting ideas that come out of that place, in places like Developer Town where I am here today, and just all these amazing smart entrepreneurs and business people in Indiana have just blown me away with their advice and their kindness to me, and willing to listen and willingness to help. It's been an awesome thing to be a part of, and I'm glad that I'm able to share some of my advice with you guys today. So thanks so much for having me, and that's what happened.
Don't blind him. And I just
Okay. Do you guys have any questions out there? I know it was kind of tough with the slides.
All right, we're unmuted.
Okay, here.
Do you know about the GitHub software developer pack?
In the chat window.
Kim, this is Eric from Cowork Beacon, and we have a question from the audience.
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to put them down here. School.
What was it? How did you? Hold on. How did you?
Enter
The good thing about this project was I had my own high school on my side for the start of it. So because I was working with the administrators and faculty at my high school at the beginning, it was sort of easier to sign my high school on. I ended up having to do a presentation in front of my administrators and in front of all the teachers at my school, but they were willing to help me. And then once I had my own high school on, it was a lot easier to talk to other high schools and say, look, we've already done this for a year, it works for us, and it can work for you guys too. So I sort of had to easy in there because I was already a high school student. But now how that works is teachers commonly and administrators share some of the products and software that they use with each other. So a lot of times schools will just contact me and say, hey, I heard about your product, could you tell me a little bit more about it? And then we just move on. Thank you.
Okay, South Bend, you have a question?
Hey, it's Steve. You know about the GitHub Student Developer Pack?
Yes, I use the GitHub Student Developer Pack.
Good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Make sure to tell everyone you know about, like, why not? Like, it's so many things for free. And share the knowledge. Like, I should have said this at the beginning, but if there are any people, like, all you have to be is 13 years old or older and enrolled in some sort of, like, diploma-based education thing, which is like high school, college, master's, whatever. If you're in school, we will give you all sorts of stuff for free. It's like, just use it. It's like literally thousands of dollars worth of stuff for completely free.
Free domain name and like free hosting. And
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's insane. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we have a question over here in Lunch Fishers. Do you want to ask?
Do you make money off your hall pass?
Make money off your hall pass.
Off the hall pass, yeah. So it's priced at $1.50 per student per year. So $1.50. So it's free for teachers and administrators, and we just charge the students. I give it to my high school for free, and then the middle schools in my district, I think, are also going to use it for free. But then schools outside of my district, we will charge them the price. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
You guys have any more questions?
Okay. Thank you, Zach. And now we'll hand it over to Bloomington.
All right, Katie, we're going to speak over here, if that's okay. Can you help me get that center?
Yeah. All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Shoaib, and I'm with the Indiana Office of Small Business and Entrepreneurship. And I'm here to welcome you to Cowork Town. This is a lovely space in downtown Bloomington. It's a very inviting, it's a very warm, it's a very inclusive space where everyone can come and work and share ideas. Today I'm here to introduce Katie McCarthy. She is a second-year student with the Kelly Scholars at Indiana University. So I will not waste any more of your time. So Katie, why don't you come up here?
Hi, so again, my name is Katie. I just finished my second year at the Kelly School of Business. And I was asked just to share my experiences with an organization that I founded or was a founding member of. It's called Who's Your Social Impact Fund. And a little different than most young entrepreneurial endeavors, we are a nonprofit. We provide microfinance, capital attainment, business development services for small businesses who are facing growing pains and are unable to get capital from traditional sources such as banks. Because of that, we're a little different. The product that we're selling, we're not totally looking to make a profit on. We have interest, obviously, in our development are for free. That being said, I think we face a lot of the challenges that any startup organization faces. We started last year. We were mostly a group of underclassmen that was looking at how to incorporate, how to file for nonprofit status so we didn't have to pay taxes. Relying heavily on community organizations. I know it was just mentioned not even 5 minutes ago, but my number one recommendation to anyone looking to start a business or any sort of organization would be looking for those mentors, going out into the community, finding the Chamber of Commerce, finding your clients, finding the people that also work with your clients but maybe from a different angle, and seeing what advice they have and how to find them specifically. Also, since our clients aren't people that are on the financial grid to begin with, our target market is a little harder to reach in that not very many formal organizations work with them. So doing your market research, going out into the community, being that bold person who just walks into a storefront and starts up a conversation is crucial in developing those small relationships that they can become clients in the long run. So we offer loans of up to $10,000, which means we do a lot of fundraising and grant writing. So if you have any questions about that, I can go into that in more detail. Again, that's a little different. Is that better?
Yeah, just try it. We're good.
That's a little different than a lot of businesses since our revenue generation comes from private donations of grants. That was mostly what I was asked to speak about. If anyone has any questions on what it's like to start an organization as an undergraduate, building credibility in your community, I would love to answer.
Does anybody have any questions?
Sure. I have one. Which different companies or organizations are you working with currently?
Yeah, so working with a lot of organizations that work in economic development in Bloomington. So that's downtown Bloomington, which is specifically for downtown businesses. That's the Chamber of Commerce. Right here, we've done work with the ISBDC, which is Indiana Small Business Development Corporation, and Bloomington Economic Development Corporation. So a lot of the economic realm organizations and community organizations that do kind of grassroots work here.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, so
how did you navigate regulations around financing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we initially applied for a grant that was through the, it was called the Women's Philanthropy Council at IU, so it funds IU organizations and things like that. And we applied last year and we ran into some financial regulations, and they were helpful enough to say, you have a great idea, we want to fund you, you need to fix some of these things and we'll help you do it. So we got a lot of legal counsel, we went to the law school here at IU, got some advice from them to really sort out that type of regulation.
all right, Jacob, and does that answer your question in South Bend?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Anyone else in South Bend?
Anyone else?
Questions?
No. All right.
Okay, so I think that does it for us here in Bloomington, and now we're going to hand things off to Launch Fishers.
Okay, are we good? All right, I'm going to move a little bit closer, I guess. Sounds good. All right, well, so we are here in Launch Fishers, and we are closing out the night with our very last speaker, and I am excited to be here in Launch Fishers. We've had really awesome, fun time tonight, I think, kind of, you know, trying to hear and trying this out for the first time. So I am actually going to bring forward now Cassie from Launch Fishers. She's going to tell you probably a little bit about where we're at right now and where they're moving, and maybe a party that you could come to tomorrow night if you want to. And then she's going to introduce us to our last speaker of the night.
Hi everyone, we are at Launch Fishers right now. Right now our building is 16,000 square feet of co-working space, and we're hoping by September we will be in a building triple the size of that. And the event that Noelle mentioned is actually at our future home tomorrow evening. You can buy tickets online still until noon tomorrow, $10. Launchfishers.com/party. Hot air balloon rides, tours of the new building. It should be a lot of fun. Our speaker tonight is actually a Launch Fishers intern this summer. Bailey Paxton is the co-founder of a company called Paxton Medical. Bailey just graduated from Detroit Central Catholic in Michigan and will be attending Michigan State in the fall. Bailey will also be the first high schooler to pitch at Innovation Showcase this year. So I'll hand it off to Bailey.
Hi guys, how's it going? I'm Bailey Paxton. I'm the co-founder of Paxton Medical. In Paxton Medical, we identify, redesign, and market medical devices with expired valves. So anyway, just a little bit of background information on me before we get started. So I live in Southline, Michigan. It's just north of Ann Arbor, and sorry, that threw me off. But so I just graduated at Detroit Catholic Central, which is an all-boys Catholic school up in Michigan, obviously. And then
Can you talk a little louder?
oh yeah, can. So sorry.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when I was looking at different colleges, I was really trying to figure out like where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and for me it was really important because I didn't want to go to college to learn how to get a job. I wanted to learn how to create jobs. So I was actually going to IU Bloomington until like 3 days before, and then my parents kind of dropped the ball on me that out-of-state tuition was too expensive. So I'm just going to end up at Michigan State. But anyway, so at Paxton Medical, so whether you're a paramedic rushing a patient to the hospital, or you're a surgeon performing a routine procedure, there's nothing more important to a medical professional than organization. So better organization in the surgical arena helps hospitals save time, money, and improve surgical outcomes. So our product SurgStay is a convenient, disposable, sterile adhesive surgical organizer that makes surgery more efficient. So after completing over 27 customer validation interviews, we found that there's actually surgeons out there using self-made solutions to do exactly what our product does. And so our ideal channel to reach out to our market is to start out through direct sales to the smaller community-based hospitals. This is because we have better access to nurses, techs, and surgeons, and we already have existing relationships in place. And so you're probably wondering, like, how did a kid like me get into doing something with medical devices? And so actually, when I was really little, I was like 6 years old, and my grandma has a farm and it runs parallel with a golf course. And so people they're pretty bad at golfing. So like pretty much like every other ball gets hit into that field on that hole. And so we always, ever since I was little, we'd walk the field and walk down and pick up all the golf balls. It was like a little Easter egg hunt. And so then I decided that I wanted to sell the golf balls because I was really never good at lemonade stands. I wasn't cute enough because you're not really selling lemonade, you're selling cuteness, and I was not a very cute kid. So anyway, I painted a little green sign, said golf balls for sale, had the number 4 because I didn't know how to spell 4. So I put that out by the road and I sat at a little table with my golf balls and just waited day after day. The only people that bought golf balls for me were my parents. And so after that, I got sick of that. I went and tried to do door-to-door sales. And so that was a little bit better, but I didn't realize like no one was home at like 12 o'clock on a Tuesday. So what I ended up trying to do is like, I was like, how can I get people to buy golf balls from me? Not thinking about that it was still a Tuesday, probably like 1-ish. And then, so what I did is like, everybody donates money to charity. Like people always buy like fundraisers, anything, like always, like the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scout cookies, school coupons that no one really wants. So people always donate to charity. So I said I'd give 15% of all my profits from the golf balls to the American Red Cross Association. So that worked great. I made like $120 that day. It was ridiculous. And that's a lot of Pokemon cards when you're 10 or 8 or I don't remember. Anyway, so I went home and I told my dad what I did, and first he kind of laughed at me and then he made me donate all my money. But so that was really kind of like what did it for me, and so I was like, that was my first experience with the whole entrepreneurship world. And then, so after that, I'm the oldest child, so I never really had a true role model. I never had a brother to look up to. And so instead, I had like my dad, and then Mr. Wexler, or John Wexler. You guys probably have heard of him. But so anyway, so my dad worked for Eli Lilly for 20 years, and then Mr. John's a serial entrepreneur. And so I really got to see like both ends of the spectrum, which was really cool for me, because I got to come home and see how much my dad really hated working for someone else. And then I got to see Mr. John, how he was so happy just doing whatever he wanted. And so after that, my dad, a couple years ago, he decided to quit his job at Lilly and start his own company. And so there was this transition phase where he was trying to decide if he wanted to buy a company or start a company or do a franchise or something. And so during that time, we were able to just talk about different businesses and work together. And so that's actually where this Pax Medical, the sterile adhesive surgical organizer, came from. And then last summer, I interned at Launch Fishers, which was a really great experience because I got to sit in on meetings with Mr. John, and then like with different companies like Lumen Catch and Chocola, and a bunch of other really cool ones. And then after that, I did the Teen Entrepreneurship Academy in Concordia University in Irvine, California. And so that was a really great experience because it was like they put you up in teams and then did a bunch of different speakers and then helped you design your own business plan. And then at the end of the week, you presented. And so that was really cool because my team, it was 3 younger girls, me, and then so 2 were 14 and then 1 was 13. And then, like I said, I went to an all-boys school, so I don't even know what like girls are, especially younger girls. So like trying to communicate with them was like a whole nother ball game, and trying to figure out how do you deal with that. And so what I did is I sat down with each one of them individually. And so one was really good at art. So I had her draw the designs and graphics of the prototype that we were going to sell. And then I had the other one, she was really good at web design and programming and stuff. So I had her make a website, and then she did the whole PowerPoint. And then the last one, she was really shy and quiet. So what I had her do is one night I stayed up until like 3 in the morning, finding a bunch of different information about doctors and making a huge list of phone numbers to call. And then I wrote out a bunch of questions, and so I had her call all the doctors and nurses and techs and whatever. So just to get some more information, because I knew that no one was going to answer my phone calls. But like, who's going to hang up on a little girl? So so that actually worked really well. Surprisingly. So, and then actually at the end of the week, we ended up winning the competition, which was really cool. And so after, that was really the turning point, because afterwards I was in an interview, and the lady was like, what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs? And that was weird because I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur before. And so then after that, I was in another interview, and then the lady actually put it in her book. And so I'm technically in a book called Color Your Message by Lisa Caprelli. And so I don't know a lot of other kids my age that are in a real book. So that was awesome. And then anyway, when I got home, I talked to my dad and I was like, hey, I think we have this great idea. I'd really like to continue. So we ended up doing the Ann Arbor Spark Startup Bootcamp program, which that's a 10-week intensive program focused just on customer validation interviews. And so that was really cool because, sorry. So it was a great experience because I got to miss a ton of school, which was awesome. But that was like really like one of the most busiest times of my life, right? I had school, homework, I was missing school, so I had more school on top of that. Work, I had a job, and then I was trying to interview people, and then on top of that, college applications and everything. So trying to manage all my time was ridiculous. And then trying to get interviews with surgeons and doctors, like that's nuts. Like they're not gonna make time, so like you have to make time for them. And so what I did is I actually ended up creating a form stack. And so then I'd like call the doctors with form stacks, so like a form where you can just ask some questions. So I'd be like, I'd call them and then I'd be like, hey, you want to set up a time to talk? I'd be like, no, I'm too busy saving people. And then, so then I'd say, hey, you want to set up a phone call? And then they'd be like, no, saving people. So then I was like, hey, could you fill out this 3-minute survey? And they were like, sure, okay. whatever. So I just kind of like worked it down. But we ended up winning that program, which was really cool. And so just gone from there. And then so right now we're just talking to different manufacturers and learning and trying to do everything we can. We have a prototype. We actually we were talking to a manufacturer and we did a test run for 100. And so they actually arrived at my house yesterday at the doorstep. So when my dad got home too late from work to overnight him here, so I would show you, but they're in Michigan. So I'm actually going to be the first high school student to present at the Innovation Showcase, which I'm really excited about. And then I'm working with a surgeon to help design the booth, which I think will be really cool because we'll set up different stations of different surgeries going on to show the product, which will be cool. And then, but I'd like to tell you about a little bit of the struggles and how I've kind of overcome them at this point. So first of all, is communication. I mean, it's really hard if you're not an engineer. It's tough to articulate your thoughts and ideas to the different manufacturers, and then people just talking about your ideas kind of tough. And then the next one is like age. So I actually got accepted to this program called the Detroit Accelerator or something. But I got accepted, and then I was later denied because I wasn't technically in college yet. So that was kind of disappointing, and I was like, dude, I can sign up for a pottery class at the community college down the street if it really matters, but I guess it does. So I guess I'm too young, and there's not really much I can do about that. And then finding people that are like-minded in your age is really tough, but just to overcome that, you gotta just meet more people. And then getting in with the surgeons is tough. So, but that's tough for anyone because people do that for their living. And but I've actually kind of used my age to my advantage. So I just say, hey, can you help me? Can you teach me about this? So can you like try out my product and then can you give me some feedback, or like how would you sell this to someone? And so actually I've really found that people are like really happy to help you and work with you, and most of them generally want the best for you too. So yeah, that's about it for my struggles. Hopefully we're going to try and get into the market by October 1st. And then I just want to learn the process to be able to repeat the process, which, yeah. So that's it. Any questions?
All right. Any questions for Bailey? One maybe coming in something. No?
All right, so can you hear South Bend okay?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, go green. I think I heard Michigan State, right?
Yeah.
So yay.
Go away.
And if you could talk a little bit about how you went through the process of finding somebody to make the prototype.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I actually so it's an expired patent, so we just kind of used that to go off of. And then we were just talking with different manufacturers. I sent out like mass amounts of emails just because I knew I'd screw up with some of them. And yeah, so just sending a bunch of emails asking for help. And then my dad helped me a little bit, but it's really busy, so.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Bailey. All right, and so that is the conclusion of our first annual, hopefully first annual, ooh, Eric hates that, our inaugural Young Entrepreneurs Cowork event. We're so happy that everyone was able to join us both at these 5 different locations, and then also the people who are watching online. Thank you so much for watching and sticking it out with us. Thanks to everyone who has presented, all of our presenters. You all did a fantastic job. And definitely look for more events like this, fingers crossed, in the future. We really want to be able to highlight the 50-plus co-working spaces throughout the state of Indiana and make sure that we are, getting our up-and-coming entrepreneurs both out there to showcase the amazing, incredible things that they're doing, and then also be able to get hooked into their local co-working space and their communities so that they can start to bring their goals and dreams, and I don't want to be corny, but their dreams of being an entrepreneur to fruition. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks to everyone here at Launch Fishers, and everybody have a great evening. Bye.